So, good morning, my dear children of class 7. Today I shall move ahead with this chapter that I had left with in the last class, that is a voyage to Brobdingnag, where we talked about the adventure of Gulliver, how he encounters all the giants of Brobdingnag and how he was taken hostage, or rather like a doll, seeming so because of his size. The farmer takes Brobdingnag as a gift, a small doll for his 9-year-old daughter, and the friendship that develops between Glumdalclitch, the 9-year-old daughter, and Gulliver thereafter. And after having an unfortunate event that Gulliver encounters with one of the friend of the farmer, the farmer decides to take him to the next town to be displayed for money, for which Glumdalclitch is extremely unhappy. And as he was journeying towards the other town, this poor chap Gulliver, he had an extremely bad journey. For even the trotting of the horse, the slow movement of the horse seemed like the movement of the storm for him, because he was extremely small in that land, in fact very, very tiny in that island of Brobdingnag, the island of the giants. So that is where we had left with in the last class. So now we will move ahead with the video. So then my master arrived at an inn. So an inn is a tavern where the travelers, they lodge, they eat their food and they drink. So my master arrived at an inn, and after consulting the innkeeper, that is the owner of the inn, hired the town crier. Now, who is the town crier? A town crier is a person specially meant to make announcement in public. So hired the town crier to give notice to the town of a strange creature to be seen at the inn, not as big as a splunktnag, and in every part of the body resembling a human being. So who is this strange creature being referred to? Yes, it is Gulliver, none other than Gulliver. So Gulliver is being regarded by those giants as a strange creature who resembles a human. And these giants, they consider themselves as humans, and in the same manner, Gulliver too regards himself as human. And in this manner, the two of them, they regard each other as some strange creature. So this is the humor that Jonathan Swift applies out here. So then what happened was, it happened like this: splunktnag, and in every part of the body resembling a human being. So that is the humor, as I already told you, which could speak several words and perform 100 entertaining tricks. So this very last announcement that the town crier gave roused more curiosity in the already curious crowd of that town. So they were already curious because of the rumor that went around that kingdom of Brobdingnag about this creature that resembled human, who looked like a splunktnag and who spoke their language and did many, many tricks. So this strange creature is that we hear of and is referred to is none other than the Gulliver himself. So this is the announcement that was made, and soon there was streaming crowd. There was a lot of footfall in that inn, and a lot of people, they were curious to see, and all of them, they came to the inn. I was placed on a table in the largest room of the inn. So they had booked one largest room of the inn so that they could accommodate as many viewers as possible, so in order to earn money. So my little nurse stood on a stool close to the table to take care of me and direct what I should do. So she was always there. This little girl, as I told you, as we discussed in the earlier class, she was always there, and she was very cautious about the safety and the care of this person, Glumdalclitch. Then direct what I should do. To avoid a crowd, my master would only allow 30 people at a time to see me. So there was this certain limitation, so that the room of that inn would not be overcrowded, and if it would have been overcrowded, definitely it would have proved a huge threat to this so-called tiny creature, that is Gulliver, in front of all those giants. So, and not just that, even Glumdalclitch was always there for his safety, and she was there, and as per his need, she would always take care of him. So I walked about on the table as the girl commanded. She asked me questions as far as she knew. My understanding of the language reached, and I answered them as loudly as I could. So this entire act that they put forward in front of the giant crowd was that it was well planned, it was well enacted, because Glumdalclitch would command him to do few movements and few tricks which he would do, which they had practiced. And not just that, Glumdalclitch would also ask him questions and make him answer all those little questions that they had prepared, and of which Gulliver had knowledge about. So in that very planned manner, everything went on so smoothly, which amazed the other giant creatures out there who had assembled out there, who had gathered out there to have a glimpse of Glumdalclitch. Yes. Then see, and so these are the tricks that he did. I paid my respect to the gathering several times and made some other speeches that I had been taught. I took up a thimble. So a thimble is actually, it is a small, golden, it's a tip which is used for the protection of the fingertip, which is used while sewing clothes. Alright, so yes, so then what happened is, so just imagine, the giant's thimble was extremely big for this person, that is Gulliver. It was as big as his cup. It was, Then I took up a thimble filled with a drink which Glumdalclitch had given me as a cup. See, the thimble, the size of their thimble, which would fit their fingertip, was as big as a cup for Gulliver. So that small and tiny he was in front of those giants. So you can imagine, at just, who knows, just at the touch of their finger, their rough chafed hands, of those giants, Gulliver could be easily crushed. So that tiny he was. So then these are the tricks. He paid respect in their way, in their method, in their manner. He paid respect to all those giants several times, because quite many giants had gathered out there to see him. So then I took up a thimble filled with drink which Glumdalclitch had given me as a cup, which was a part of their trick, and drank to their health. So this definitely must have raised the excitement of all those giants out there, who were amazed by all these tricks and those speeches delivered by Gulliver. Yes. Then my nurse gave me a part of a straw, which I treated as a pipe. That day I was shown to 12 sets of people. 12 sets of people, they were there to see him. 12, so just imagine, 12 sets of people means for 12 times he delivered those speeches again and again, bowed to them, paid respect to them, did as he was commanded by Glumdalclitch. So just imagine, his very starting of the journey was not at all good for him. So out here, the adventure that he underwent out here in this world of Brobdingnag was not extremely very comforting for him. He was, so in the sense, he was extremely tired and exhausted. Yes. Then see, that day I was shown to 12 sets of people and forced to do the same acts till I was half dead with weariness and annoyance. Annoyance means angry, irritated. That irritation, when you get irritated by something, when you are supposed to do over and over again, you get annoyed and you are irritated. And weariness means extremely exhausted, lack of energy. So he was extremely, definitely anyone would have been exhausted if one was thrown to such extreme. And Gulliver was thrown to such extreme where he had to do all those acts over and over again for 12 sets of people. So it was not an easy task for Gulliver. My master would not allow anyone to touch me except my nurse. So even the master was very cautious. So definitely he had to be cautious, because if any damage would fall on Gulliver, he would have undergone huge monetary loss, because he knew that this business would definitely be a huge it was proving to be a very profitable business, a very lucrative business. So my master would not allow anyone to touch me except my nurse. To prevent danger, benches were put around the table and keep me out of everybody's reach. So he was very, very cautious to ensure the safety, cautious enough to keep all the giants at a certain distance, which would keep Gulliver away from them, protected, away from all those giants, those curious and excited giants, giants. He wanted Gulliver to be kept at a safe distance. So, however, a schoolboy aimed a hazelnut. A hazelnut. Hazelnut is, in reality, a hazelnut is very small in size, isn't it? Size of almost a beetle nut. So as big as, and in their land, the hazelnut for Gulliver was as big as a pumpkin. And you all know how big and huge the size of a pumpkin is and how it seems like. So hazelnut as big as pumpkin at my head, which very narrowly missed me. For this he was scolded and sent out of the room. But in spite of the protection measures that were taken by the master, still there happened to be a very naughty boy, a schoolboy, who threw a hazelnut which was for Gulliver as huge as a pumpkin, which was of the size of the pumpkin, at his head, and Gulliver quickly dodged, and he dodged it, and he was safe. He saved himself. So see, the kind of adventure, the kind of experiences that Gulliver was coming across one after the other is extremely adventurous. Yes, it's very exciting that we hear. I was so tired with my first journey, and with entertaining people for 8 hours together, back to back. He was entertaining all these people for 8 hours, that I could hardly stand on my, hardly means barely, almost not able to stand on my legs or speak a word. He was so exhausted. It was at least 3 days before I recovered my strength, and he was so exhausted that it took him complete 3 hours to recover, to get back to his strength, normal self. Then I had no rest at home either, as all the neighboring people hearing of my fame means popularity, his he was very well known. The rumor that was spread around, he was extremely known and talked about. Yes, that is fame. Came to see me at my master's house, and my master demanded the rate of full moon whenever he showed me to the people. Therefore, for some time I had little rest during the week, although I was not carried to town. So for that week, he spent every day 8 hours to entertained 12 sets of people every day, doing the same act, and he was so exhausted that after having returned home, he took complete 3 days to recover. But even after that, even at home, he had no rest after that 3 days of rest. Why? Because even at home, his people were so curious. After first being displayed in that town, the rumor about him spread even more, and the people were even more curious and excited to see him, that his own town people also wanted to see him, and they had already gathered around the house of his master to have a glimpse of Gulliver. And again out there too, for a week he had to do the same thing over and over again, which completely drenched him of all his energy. Then see, finding how profitable means, as I have told you, it is lucrative, that which fetches good money. Yes, in return, I was likely to be my master resolved. Resolved means determined to carry me to the most important cities of the kingdom. So the master now realized how lucrative, how profitable, how much money Gulliver was fetching him. So he decided, his greed increased. He wanted to earn more money. So he decided to take him to all the other important cities of the kingdom. Then what happened? Having provided himself with all the things necessary for a long journey, so he was already preparing himself for the long journey, and settled his affairs at home, he took leave of his wife on the 17th of August, about 2 months after my arrival. We set out for the metropolis. Metropolis are the important cities. Yes. My master made his daughter Glumdalclitch ride behind him. She carried me on her lap in a box tied about her waist. So it had already been 2 months, 2 months since his arrival at Brobdingnag, and his experience with the giants at Brobdingnag, and his experience initially, it was quite a comforting experience that he had with Glumdalclitch, where he was given all the care and nurturing that he required, and the learning that he wanted to have, wanted to acquire from Glumdalclitch, but until he happened to meet the master's friend, and thereafter he never had a very easy life. It was extremely exhausting, it was extremely tiring for Gulliver. Then the master, he decides to take him to other metropolis, to the other important cities. And then what happened, even Glumdalclitch was there to accompany them, especially to comfort and be with, yes, Gulliver. So we traveled distances of not more than 100 miles a day. So they underwent a very long journey every day. For Glumdalclitch, on purpose to comfort me, complained she was tired with the trotting. Trotting means the slow movement of the horse. She often took me out of my box at my own desire to give me air and show me the country. So Glumdalclitch sometimes, she would pretend as if she was extremely exhausted for the sake of exhausted, and ask her father to take some rest, to stop the journey for a while so that she could take rest. But this she did in order to comfort her friend Gulliver. See, so that caring this little girl was. Then, but always held me fast by my lead string. On our journey we passed many rivers, borders and deeper than the Nile or Ganges. We traveled for 10 weeks before we arrived. We traveled for 10 weeks before we arrived at the metropolis, called in their language Lord Brugald, or Pride of the Universe, on the 26th day of October. So this was the journey that Gulliver had and underwent. It was extremely an adventurous journey. It was no doubt very tiring and exhausting, and it was an exciting journey, but yet nevertheless the entire overall story that we hear of his experience at Brobdingnag is extremely amazing. It is extremely funny at the same time. It it ignites our imagination, as in what would the giants look like, or had we come across a tiny creature like, just as Jonathan Swift, the humor that Jonathan Swift applies, who knows, we might be the giants, and there might be another creature who thinks himself as a human and finds us like strange creatures. What would the experience be like, you know? So in this manner, so many different various kinds of imagination, you know, at a different level is ignited by this wonderful story, this wonderful adaptation from Jonathan Swift's Gulliver Travel. So this is a small adaptation, as I had already told you, taken from the second chapter of the second volume of Gulliver's Travel. So with this we complete this story, this wonderful story, and I hope you all enjoy it. So we will move ahead with the next chapter in the following videos, and till then I want all of you to study well and do your assignments well at home, properly at home. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.